Gamers, and welcome to round 3 of the Developers Workshop podcast. The aim of what we're doing here is to give you all a bit of insight into what goes on behind the scenes of development, and also to give you a chance to get some of the great games that you may not have had exposure to. This is a great tool for up-and-coming developers to learn a few things and ask a few questions of developers and industry professionals that we have here each month to assist you. So today joining us we have the lovely Miss Abbie Heppe from Respawn Entertainment.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We also have a repeat offender, Mika from Other Ocean Interactive.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Yes, thanks for having me.
Oh, he sounds ecstatic.
I'm
also
super
joining
excited.
us are the two characters that... also joining us are the two characters that make up From TheHipMenGaming. These guys are dedicating their time to promoting and bringing awareness to the community of indie games. Say hi, guys.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi guys.
Hi.
And as always, we have our very own EXL co-host and developer, Adeloye from Drop Dead Interactive.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Sorry if I sound tired. I literally just woke up.
Hey, we got past here without there being any error this time. Yay! Getting thrown into the deep end today, by the way, is one of my newest staff members here to co-host today's event, Mr. Eric Jackson.
Hello everyone. Good evening or good morning, wherever you are.
So to begin with, let's go around the table and hear from everybody about what their experience in the gaming industry has been, about your current projects. Would you like to start us off, Mike?
Okay, I'll give it a go. I've been making games for about 20 years now, pretty much on everything, sadly. I'm probably the oldest one here. Just recently shipped Mega Man Legacy Collection, which is a compilation of the classic Mega Man games for modern consoles. Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelists for Xbox One, PS4, and PC, which is doing pretty well right now, thankfully. And also shipped iDarb in February, which Abbie helped out a little bit by providing a little bit of voice for the recipe section and a recipe or two there. And then we're just getting ready to launch the update to that, which includes new arenas, new DLC, and all this other kind of crazy stuff. And then I'm in the middle of doing something that's the follow-up to all that, like a new project that I hope someday to be able to talk soon about. So that's kind of what I'm up to.
Awesome, awesome. Abbie, let's move on over to you.
Sure. So I started in the industry, oh my god, I don't remember how many years now. It's probably almost 10. I worked for Tips and Tricks magazine. I was an editor there. It was a lot of cheat codes and strategy guide stuff. And then I worked at G4 as a senior producer of X-Play. And then I came over to join Respawn and shipped Titanfall. And that is already way too long ago. So yeah, now we're working on. We've already come out and said we're working on a follow-up to that game. So spoilers. But we also have a second team here that's getting started on something cool, and we've got a lot in the works.
Awesome, awesome. Jay, over to you.
Hey, how's it going? So I'm from Drop Dead Interactive, as you know. I'm currently working on an indie title called Gear Gauntlet, which is coming to the Xbox One. I've made other titles, again, for XBlig. So I'm probably the youngest in experience, probably age, but I don't know. So yeah, so currently working on Gear Gauntlet, and also sort of coming up with some new ideas for the next title that's coming after that, since Gear Gauntlet is sort of right at the finish line. And also I'm just sort of following other people like Michael on Twitter, constantly hearing him tease all these little additions that's coming, and you know, what put me up.
Oh dear. Okay, Greg and Lee, over gentlemen. Why don't you tell us a bit about your contribution to the industry?
We're feel a bit out of place here because we're not developers at all. We're just sort of reasonably new YouTubers, just trying our best to support the indie developers.
Yeah, we've been going since March, and we're getting quite a bit. We're getting noticed, by the developers, and we're just trying to give as much exposure as we can to the indie program, which we absolutely love, and we want to do our best to promote it.
Roll on Gear Gauntlet as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which I think half of the room here can really appreciate, since they are indie devs.
Yes.
So we've had quite a few questions actually sent through, and I mean, obviously with Abbie in the room, we're bombarded with questions on Titanfall, of which I've sifted through. I was like, no, that's not why she's here. But we did have actually a couple of really lovely questions come through, and the first one that was sent to Abbie is from Laura Gillingham, who is one of the biggest Titanfall fans that I know, and she'd like to know, what do you feel has been the greatest achievement in your time in the gaming industry?
I mean, really, shipping Titanfall was pretty incredible. We had a lot of challenges kind of working our way towards that, and it took really, I mean, seriously, and it just took, everybody here really working as a team and pulling through and making that happen. It's crazy to start a game from scratch and a studio from scratch, and I think it's made us really think seriously about our culture as a studio, and like who we are and what we can do together, and it's awesome. I'm really proud of that. It's so crazy to sort of be doing things again and to not have to be sitting there going like, oh, do we even have a game? So it's really cool. It was a lot of fun, and it was definitely the biggest challenge for sure. As far as like the smaller pieces of that, I mean, there's a bunch of little, detailed stuff, but it's not just my story to tell.
Yeah, being somebody who runs a community for Titanfall, we have like thousands of members in there, and one of the things that I've noticed about that particular Titanfall community is, with other communities that we have set up for singular games, they tend to sort of rise to a peak where people are just rushing to become a part of it and want to communicate and hand out info and tips and stuff like that, and then it just ebbs off. But it hasn't happened with the Titanfall one. It continues to grow and grow and grow, and every day more people are still joining the Titanfall, because it's a game that just, the replayability factor is so high, and it's something that everybody loves. It was just so unique when it came out, and it was really just its own thing. We're really excited for what will be coming in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun part for us too, is to sort of work with, different mechanics, and I mean, also just to have like giant robots and like fun sci-fi stuff to play around with. There's a lot of, we've seen so much creativity from our community, whether it's like making costumes or making art. Like, I mean, I've joked about this before, that like the last place to really do community stuff for a shooter is Pinterest. But like, we have so many people that put like cool art up on there and stuff, just because like, you think of it as like housewives sitting around being like, here's some cool wedding inspiration, but like, there's so much cool game art and stuff that gets shared through there, and it keeps us inspired too. I think sometimes when you're on a project for a really long time, it's easy to sort of lose perspective, and seeing people still be really excited and love the stuff that everybody here has worked really hard on makes it so worth it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Eric, over to you.
Let's see, we have here, for those of you that have been a part of the ID at Xbox program, can you offer some advice to some of the devs who may be listening and trying to get a leg in the door?
You want to take that, Jay, or you want me to dive in?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, your best bet is to just give it a go. Get involved. Go to, I believe it's the xbox.com/idxbox. I'm sure Bella will put up the link after at the end. But the best thing to do really is just to get in contact with them, which is what I did. I didn't think I'll get onto the program because I thought I wasn't, big time enough. I thought, why would they want to get someone like myself on there who hadn't, shipped anything of significant, well, that I thought was significant anyways, in terms of like sales and stuff like that. But I actually got a response, and they said, yeah, send in, a prototype, and stuff like that, sending any links, anything social, which I did, and the response I got back was, yeah, we really like your game, blah blah blah, and from there it just snowballed into being able to be taken to shows, getting promotion from the guys on Twitter and stuff like that, and being able to put trailers on the official Xbox YouTube and things like that. So for me, it's definitely, you have to sort of just believe in yourself and just give it a go, and don't think to yourself you're not good enough to get your game out there. And yeah, so that would be like sort of my one sort of advice if I was going to give it to anyone, because I know a lot of people, they always just hesitate to actually make that first move. So just jump and go for it.
Yeah, you got to realize that the Idea at Xbox team they basically cleared the way, removed all the obstacles that you would normally have to get on a console. So it's like things that you would normally worry about is like, how do I become a publisher? How do I do this? What do I have to deal with, like the submission and all these other like details you'd have to do from a more professional standpoint traditionally in the game industry. They've obliterated all that to make it as frictionless as possible. So all you really need to focus on is having that great idea and a demo, basically. It's going to be a lot harder if you just go up there and I've got this great idea and you just say what it is. They're not going to, like, I think gone are the days of that kind of working. You got to really show that you can do it. And if you can walk in there with a game demo on PC or whatever, and you can demonstrate that you know what you know how to deliver on your idea, like, they'll support you from that point on. And it's very easy at that point with these guys. They will make sure you get the hardware and everything else. So it's just like you were saying, Jay, just go for it and make sure that you self-promote. Make sure you're involved in different like game development communities. Like, get on Twitter and follow like #GameDev and all that stuff, and just push it out there so that you have some awareness. Because the other thing that's going to start happening is you're now in a mix of people. There's a lot of people. It's really saturated trying to get into the Idea at Xbox program. The more you stand out, the quicker you're going to get through that process. So just make sure you're very vocal. You have enough to show and that sort of stuff, and it'll just work.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to that age-old saying, you don't know if you don't ask.
Yeah, and just as Mike was saying quickly, some people believe that for some reason there's some secret, blood signing you have to do when you join the program and stuff like that. And I haven't experienced none of that. I don't get told I have to make anything exclusive. You do have a lot of say in what you're doing with your own product. And also, it isn't just a case of, okay, I'm now on Idea Xbox, I can sort of sit back. There is a lot of hard work you have to do yourself, and I find myself wearing a lot of hats, doing things that I wouldn't necessarily thought I'd be doing, because I am a professional developer and programmer. So, I have to do things like marketing myself, trying to, do the business side of stuff. So these things are all new to me, but at the end of the day, you have to put in a lot of effort yourself. But you can always get advice from other developers on the program, people that work at on the Idea Xbox and stuff like that. I've met Chris Charlotte face to face, and had a lengthy conversation with him, which was one of the sort of highlights of my life, and stuff like that. I've even met Phil Spencer. So it's not as if to say these people would just bring you in a program and just say, okay, now you'll never talk to us and stuff like that. But a lot of it is going to be from your own effort. So just don't think it's going to be sort of like an easy ride and sit back sort of. So.
That's awesome. Abbie, let the record show that somebody said that meeting Chris Charlo was a highlight of their life.
Yeah. Well,
we agree. We agree,
sweet.
Jay.
Chris is great, and Phil is too. I like both of them a lot, and that's awesome that you get so much involvement from that team, because I know what you mean. I think even on the larger scale of stuff, we end up wearing a lot of hats and being very agile, and you end up doing so much work than you ever thought you were going to starting off, kind of no matter what level you're at.
Yeah, and we don't want to understate how much work the Idea at Xbox team does. Like, I've been up there watching them work, and it is frightening how much they have to do every day. And I'm just sitting back, when I come back here, I'm just thinking like, oh, why aren't they responding to my email in the next 15 minutes like I want them to or whatever? But they're literally getting thousands and thousands of requests a day, and they're not the biggest team in the world either, but they managed to get through it all. So it's a pretty exciting program.
Yeah,
so it's actually very interesting. I'm sorry.
Go.
No, I was saying it's actually very interesting to hear you guys say that, because I know initially when it came to Xbox, they were kind of seen as the team and the crew that kind of pushed indies to the side. And it's really cool to hear that, the Idea at Xbox program is really facilitating and helping you guys, push forward and get your product out there. It seems like as long as you're bringing and carrying your weight and bringing your side to the table, that they're willing to definitely help.
Yeah, I think it really helped that Chris came from an independent developer background, and he took over that whole initiative, and that changed everything, I think. So not just because I know him or whatever, but also because he literally worked really hard to change the perception, I think, internally and externally for that. So it's working.
Really cool.
Yeah. No, I feel like I was about to talk over the top of someone then. Who was going to go next? I was just going to say, I think it is really great to give that personal side to these people who I think a lot of people are trying to get into ID at Xbox, or even gamers that look at the hierarchy of these companies, kind of demonize them a little bit and think that they're out to get everybody or that they're just their money. They don't realize just how much they are actually doing behind the scenes to give everybody else a leg up, to make sure that there's enough variety of games in the industry, and it's really nice to actually hear that personal side of them. So, Greg and Lee, you are working quite with ID at Xbox in regards to promoting a lot of the games that are coming through, pretty much anything and everything that's coming through ID at Xbox. You guys are picking it up and running with it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, yeah, we talk a lot to Alex Judd, who is the community manager for ID at Xbox program. He does weekly streams, often twice a week and things like that. So we get involved, talking to all them, in the chat and things like that, don't we?
Yeah.
And I'll carry on then. And then we email out. We're sort of the other end of obviously the indie developers, where we hear of the game getting advertised, and then we're sending the emails off. We're also thinking we're too small. No one wants to deal with us. But the indie developers, they're all absolutely awesome. Do you know what I mean?
I think we're doing something. I mean, the videos we're producing, and the exposure we're giving to the actual games. I think we're doing something that a lot of people aren't. There's not a lot of people out there doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
it's a bit.
The cool thing is best mates. Yeah. There's two of us. We record together, so a lot of games come out for local co-op.
Yeah, and
things like that, and so we can actually cover them games properly, which is quite nice. Cause, there's quite a lot of cool couch co-op games.
Yeah, definitely. iDarb was one of them.
Yeah,
which was one of our favourites. We covered that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
That one came out when.
It was one of the first ones we did.
Yeah, it was.
About February, wasn't it? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just really hoping. Like I say, we're working on everything. We'll give absolutely anything a go.
I mean, we're not really getting anything. The reason we're doing this is because of the love of it. We've been playing games since we was kids. We've come through all the era of the 8-bits, to where we are now.
And we're seeing it all over again.
Yeah, and we're seeing it all over again, which is absolutely amazing because it brings us back to our childhood. In a lot of the 8-bit games that are coming out on the indie program, it just takes you back to when you was 10 years old playing. Yeah. Playing your games.
But also bringing in new ideas as well.
Yeah,
Which is brilliant.
But I think the indie developers have got we've got a bit more creative freedom with the games they're doing. So, it gives you.
We never know what we're going to get next, or what's There's just so many games coming through this ID Xbox program. It's absolutely brilliant for gamers in general.
Yeah.
And just to be able to cover some of them. It's been absolutely brilliant for us because we've had a great time.
Oh, we really enjoyed it, and we've hoped we do it to give it the best promotion you can, because these games are absolutely amazing for the money that you're paying out.
Yeah, for value for money.
Definitely.
You're getting definite value for money with the games. So
and hours of fun.
Too.
At least 2 hours of fun.
Well, actually, some of them have been about an hour, but
we still enjoy it.
At my age, I love the shorter games. Like, I have kids I have to deal with and everything like that, and it's like I love when a game's shorter these days. I'm like, oh, thank God I can beat this game.
I have
Not
to agree
going to
with you
take
there,
away a
Mike.
week of your life.
That's the thing with completing so many games that, you know, until 2 years ago, I've never completed a game in my life. And it's about 50.
Well, there's like this stat, I think it was Ubisoft that came out with it, that said like of the games they make, like most players on average only play 2 hours of it. And I was like, all right, then I'm just going to make a 2-hour game because like, that's what most people are doing. Why am I wasting all this money?
Yeah, I actually have to say I totally agree with that because
That's awesome.
I guess say with the fact that they're so short as well, it gives you that chance to, rather than get stuck in a game for 60 hours up to 100 hours, which there's nothing wrong with that because there's some brilliant games out there. We're just getting to see so many different ideas so quickly, and as gamers, it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and there's a variety you can just keep going back to, and you know, and just enjoying them.
Yeah, because when you finish the game, you get to see someone's vision to completion, and I don't get to see that these days just because of my lifestyle, and so it's like to have these smaller games where you can see somebody's vision from start to finish across like this arc, across a story, or a story across this whole game or whatever. It's amazing to see that in these smaller sets. Like Journey was a great example of that. It's not a long game. I mean, I know it's not pure indie or whatever, but it's like it's one of those games that I'm like, I want more like that where I can actually see something to completion.
Yeah, we agree with that, definitely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Myself also, as a husband and with a new baby, sometimes I sit with a game, you know, that maybe, say like The Witcher 3, for example, and I kind of get this sense of dread, like, I don't know if I can do this. You know?
So what's your configuration with baby and controller? How do you deal with it?
When she actually lets me hold the controller, you know, we kind of work it out, you know.
They don't do the baby Bjorn in the front with controller in front of baby or any of that kind of stuff?
No, she's beyond baby Bjorn. She's climbing all over the place and snatching controllers. And actually, one of her favorite toys is Wii Remote.
Oh, there you go. So you take the batteries out of the Wii Remote, so you're playing the game, and then
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Abbie, were you trying to say something just before?
Oh, I was just saying, you know, I love it just to get a variety. I mean, there's so many stories that you're really when you're working in AAA, you're really locked into a certain amount of time and a certain amount of hours, you know, to provide people, and it's just so nice to be able to see people tell all these different bits of stories, whether you have, you know, 45 minutes or 2 hours or something. Like, it's I was just sort of agreeing with the group point that like it's just so nice to space that out because I'm with them. I spend so much time working and traveling too that I don't know. I'm going to get Fallout 4 when it comes out, and I'll probably be finishing it in about 2 or 3 years.
You'll be finishing it as Fallout 6 comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got to say...
just in time for Fallout 5.
Yeah.
I hear you. I don't know how I fit in the games that I fit in, and the thing is that you feel the necessity to do it because you see the trailers and you see a bit of gameplay, and there is some games that you just know you have to play. As a gamer, there's stuff you just have to play. So you have to find time for it. And where does that time come from? Get sacrificed out of your sleep.
Yeah, or there's those games where you're like, as a gamer, you're like, I have to buy this game, even though you know you will never play it. Like, that's Gran Turismo for me. Like, I love that game, but I don't ever play it. I have, like, the last 3 versions in shrink wrap still, but I'm like, I have to have this game, right? Like, everybody has this game. Or Metal Gear. Like, I love Metal Gear. I think it's great, but I know I don't have time for Metal Gear. I bought it instantly. It's going to sit there for probably 2 months. I'll crack it open one day and be like, it's taking too long to update, and then maybe I'll play it. But and that's the other thing is these updates. Oh my God, they take so long. So like smaller indie games, it's like you can install it and go. And like Metal Gear, I'm like, 2 days from now I'm gonna start playing, and this is gonna be awesome.
Oh my God, I remember I decided, I don't know what came over me, but I decided I was gonna get Battlefield. I play a lot of Call of Duty, as most of you know, so I get criticized a lot for not giving Battlefield a go. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll play Battlefield. So I decided to get the digital version of it because I support digital games, 2 days later, 2 entire days later, it finished downloading. And by then I was like, I'm over this, and I deleted it.
You know, I forget every time, though. Every time I'm like, I'm going to get this, and I have terrible internet, and every time I'm like, I can just go home and play that because I'm just going to download it. And then 2 days later, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And then the next game comes out, and I do it again. Every time.
Just hold out hope that maybe this time I've caught the internet where it's having a good day. Oh dear. Now here's a piece of fun trivia for you, Mike, that you didn't know. So unfortunately for Eric,
oh boy,
he learnt last few days that as a bit of an initiation, like any of the guys that come into the team, I was like, right, one-on-one IDOB now. Our little initiation games the other day went really well, I think.
Yeah, and I want to have Bella check for performance-enhancing drugs. And for lulling me into thinking that I could actually win a couple of games, but I'll have my revenge.
What was the score? What was the final score?
Oh, it wasn't massive. It was like 20. One of them was 24-18, and they were really close games. At the end of it, we actually played keep away, so I had the ball 20 seconds to count down. I was just like hiding from him and not letting him get anywhere near me so he couldn't score.
But don't worry about the first game, because like when we launched the game, I was feeling like, oh cool, I want to go play some people online, and my first game was against this kid who had probably been playing for a day. He spanked me so hard, and he stopped and tried to show me how to do things. And I didn't want to even let him. I wanted to just get out of the game as quick as possible because I didn't want him to look at my name because my stupid Xbox name is my name. The guy who made the game.
Oh wow. That would have made for a great YouTube video. Lucky you got out.
That would have been awful. It would be good content, yes.
Yeah, that's the nightmare. I've seen the video go up that's like, here's me just destroying the developer at the game.
It's funny that
my mom even told me to take out the garbage and come back, and I'm still able to win.
I play with our community a bunch, and if I get like goosed or something in games when you get shot out of the people will put the video up, and it's it's funny. I don't feel bad about my performance. I'm really good at Titanfall, but it's great when the community just has to post that moment of you getting utterly destroyed.
It's the ultimate achievement.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a lot of games these days have achievements built into them for that.
Hi, Mike. What's the highest score you can get on one shot on that IDOB?
Somebody got 200+ points in one shot.
What?
Wow.
How? Was it Jay? Because I'm pretty sure Jay cheats.
Hey, some of you, we couldn't even do it. We're trying to do it. We're really lame at it. This guy is precise. He's got like, I don't know, some crazy skills. And he sent this in, and we're just like, should we cap that? And no, of course not. And so, but he can't really do it in general. Like he was playing against somebody that he could easily pull it off. But yeah, you can get over 200. And now with the new levels, we have this pinball level, kind of like with these pinball bumpers, and we're trying to figure out how to deal with that because like you can get like crazy point shots with that.
Yeah, because the highest I've got is 15 because you get the free rebounds, and I thought that was a high shot.
Which he has mastered. Let me tell you, you do not let him get down into that corner in the middle because once he gets down there, that's it. You're gone.
Everybody has their shot. Like that's the thing. Like it's the same. It's the same. Like I'm really bad at my own game, but I'm getting better. Like, but it's like people play it more than I do, so it's like it's really bad to get on there. But like when I get into Titanfall, Abbie, I'm gonna go back your way. Like that's the one multiplayer game I'll play on Xbox One outside of pretty much anything else because that was one of my favorites when it launched and everything like that. Give you props there, guys. But I still it's a game that I get destroyed in, but I have so much fun being destroyed. Like, but I love listening to everybody like on my team make fun of me or like that. But it's like I'm still having fun. It doesn't matter if I'm like getting hosed by it or anything like that. It's pretty cool. I've been crushed by my own like away ship and everything like that, but it's like to me that's just the best.
Yeah, for a while there was like a Reddit thread about when you get killed by grunts and just how depressing it is, and it's one of my favorite. It's really one of my favorite threads ever because it's happened. It's kind of happened to everybody, but it's sort of shameful. So it's like it was just like everybody telling their like war story of like I don't know. It was not a good moment. And then the grunt shot me. It's so funny.
There really is nothing worse when you've just had like this epic kill. You could call your Titan in, you jump in your Titan, you're running around, you're the king of the world, you destroy another Titan, you rip their arms off, you get out and you're like feeling amazing, and then
the grunt shoots you.
All of a sudden you just feel
the highs and lows in that game are so amazing to me. I actually like that a lot because I have very few things in my. I have a ton of stuff in my office, but it's usually like old game stuff. I surround myself with like a nostalgic blanket. But one of the most modern things I have in the office that's on my like front middle of my desk. I should send you a picture of this, Abbie. Is like that collector's edition Titanfall because I'm so proud. Or Titanfall model. I love that thing. And so it's like you see like Pac-Man the board game, all stuff, and then the Titanfall like collector's edition right there. But that's probably one of my favorite games right now that's out there, especially multiplayer. It's so good.
Have you seen a picture of Abbie in the actual Titanfall box? She fits in that box.
Yeah, that's true. That was a really fun project to work on. Like, you know, part of my job here is, you know, working with all of our licensors and trying to make cool Titanfall stuff and to work with our art team to figure out, like, you know, what are we going to do that's awesome? And that one was... it was just so crazy. It was sort of this ambitious, like, and when they finally showed us what the packaging would have to be, it was like one of those just jaw-dropping moments of like, oh, really? Our producer couldn't fit it in his car. There was a box like halfway sticking out, and yeah, I fit inside of the box. It was huge, but I mean, we just didn't want it to break in transit, and didn't, so that was good. But that's something that you look at and you're like, just that one time we had to do that, never again.
There's like a few times in the game. Why is it always with mech games? Because Steel Battalion had that giant controller box that I remember getting. That was just like, I can't fit this in my apartment at all. Like,
well, because they're mechs, they're giant sized. You have to do something that's really big.
It has to be like overwhelming, right? So it's like I have this desk that I need all the space for, but yet I put that thing on it because it's like, this thing is awesome.
I mean, we built a life-size Titan for that game, 2 of them. You know, it was. You just had to do it the first time around.
Where do you keep those, by the way? I'm really curious.
Storage. I actually think there was
I'm
one
asking
of
for the address because I want to find out.
The gambit.
So one is in storage around here, and I think there's another one that may be up at EA, or maybe it's in storage too. The problem is that like we're on like a middle floor of an office building and there is no room. So we would love to have it, and we are moving, and maybe we'll have room for the Titans at some point. But it was one of those sad, like, oh, we're never gonna get that in the elevator. You know, as our offices are pretty plain, and then we could just have that as a centerpiece, and it would just be like, yes. But we're getting new ones, so maybe we'll put it in there, and it'll be super awesome, and we can see the Titan every day. But I miss those. Those were fun to travel with.
If you get your own building, you just got to put them on the roof because that would just look amazing driving by.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to have our own building, but I somehow think the city is not going to be okay with that. They're no fun. I'm pretty sure the permit for that. Can you imagine going in and asking for the permit to, like, well, we want to put a Titan on the roof?
Yeah.
And just blowing the poor clerk's mind, who's just like, I mean, Form 1083B.
Yeah. Which form is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
They probably have one, probably, because, I mean, they might have dealt with that before.
Just get a couple of cargo bobs in there, pick that stuff up, sit it on the roof, you'll be fine.
There you go.
Well, then there's the whole thing of having it airlifted to the roof. I mean, this is now just turning into like a viral marketing stunt. That
would be amazing. Yeah,
I'm actually writing down now. No, I'm.
You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The marketing is being done as you put these things on your building. It's perfect.
Yeah.
No better way to inspire gamers to go and buy your game than as they're driving by to see these amazing life-size Titans on the building. Like, that would inspire anybody. Like, I have to play this. I have to be in that time.
I think you can explain it like gargoyles are so last century. The new kids, the hip kids, were doing Titans on the roof.
Think of it like a 20-foot gargoyle, you guys. Totally.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, now there's a precedent. Gargoyles, like, just because one's robotic, it doesn't really matter.
It all works.
Semantics.
It's semantic at this point, correct.
Oh, dear. So, Jay, Joshua Marshall has actually sent in a question for you, and I'd like to know, how do you go about managing development basically on your own, and are there any tips that you can offer for someone who's doing the same?
Well, I suppose I'm not entirely on my own because I like Steve. He made 80% of the levels, and then I have also a guy called Charles Humphreys, who he's actually used to be an XNA MVP, so he knows quite a bit about programming and stuff like that. And I like to sort of get involved with other indie developers as well. So I sometimes get help from him. Especially on Gig, I got a bit of help from him and stuff like that. So it's not entirely by myself, but the majority of it was before I sort of got on the idea of Xbox and stuff like that. And the way I sort of manage it is, I really, it's just, trying to get all my free time really, after I've done stuff like, play with the kids and been to work and stuff like that. And yeah, it can be really hard because you can sometimes feel really burnt out. But yeah, it's just being able to manage that and sort of see that there's sort of a sort of silver lining at the end kind of thing.
How many hours a week on top of your normal job do you spend on development?
Well, it depends. It's not like a fixed thing because sometimes I can literally go to work. My job is I'm a programmer. So sometimes I can go to work and I can come back home and I just think, if I see one line of code, I'm going to rip my head off. You know? And other times I'm like, I've seen something on Twitter where it's like, I just get a big burst of energy, either from, maybe I've spoken to Debbie from Team 17 or something like that, and then, she's giving me some inspirational talk, or I've just spoken to, Christoph because he told me how to get past this particular thing, and it's like, yes, okay, I'm going to go until, I fall asleep kind of thing, and so that could literally be from like, I don't know, from about 8 o'clock to about 12 midnight, something like that. I mean, I always have to sort of think to myself, okay, I've got work in the morning, so I can't obviously go too much, because one thing I don't want to do is get fired and be put in this position where I can't sort of support my family and stuff like that. So I've got to, maintain that balance. But on maybe like a weekend and stuff, I usually take my girls to ballet, do a few other things, and then I just say, okay, I'm gonna, go full flat on the development. So it just depends on what I'm working on, and if I can actually, do something where I can just put loads of hours into it, or I need to actually, stop and take breaks and, maybe do something else, a bit of the marketing and stuff like that. So yeah, it just depends, really. But I would say you have to really manage your time, otherwise, yeah, you can be put in a position where you absolutely just feel burnt out and, you just feel like you just don't want to do anything, and you end up just sitting there for days, just not doing anything, and that's never good, because, as I said earlier, it really is up to you to sort of get to the end with the development. No one's gonna suddenly come in and say, okay, I'll pick up the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, we think of that same issue when it comes to stuff like crunch, which we really, try our very, very best not to ever do, because, like you said, you sort of get to that point where you're not doing good work and you're not doing what you could do best because you're just tired and exhausted and your brain doesn't want to do it anymore. Just the flip side of working that hard.
Yeah, one of the mistakes I sort of made was, and this purely comes from the lack of experience as to what went into actually making a game of that at this level. It was a lot different to XBlig, I'll admit, and that was sort of trying to put a release period on the game, and basically there was a point where I was literally working non-stop because I was like, I do not want to let the fans down, because I've never really had people rooting for me to get a game out. So for me, it was like, okay, I do not want to let these guys down, so I have to just put everything into it. Told the wife, okay, I'm going to be doing some really late nights, just, if you can just bring food, periodically to the table and just feed me that way, and I just kept going and going. Even when I was on holiday, I was logging in remotely, doing stuff, and then I just got to a period where I just sort of sat there and I was like, I can't do no more, and I probably just didn't do anything for like a month, and I just needed to, just kind of chill out, and and that's what you don't want to do when you have to take those big breaks. So taking those little breaks in between ultimately means that you're doing continuous development and not taking out these big chunks of time and stuff like that. So so that's one of the things that I learned, is that unless you're absolutely definite and you pass certification and everything, sometimes it's best not to sort of give a date or a period of when you're going to get released, because you just feel compelled to try and make that date, and then you just put yourself in a position you don't really need to be in, because no one's forcing you to release your game at any time. So it's just like, why put yourself in that position, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be a balance, and especially when you have a full-time job and you have a family.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a really good insight into just like pretty much the battle that you're going through day in, day out, to not only find that balance, but also to create we in turn get to play, and we'll probably give you a hard time over at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm waiting to look at the comment section when the game releases. I've already.
This game's really good. I just wish they worked harder on it.
Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that?
Patient.
I think the weirdest comment I had in relation to Gig on it, because I'd been to IGN, and so someone watched the trailer, and I thought, okay, the comments are coming in. Someone's gonna say the game looks really, rubbish, and it's not high enough quality compared to the others. But the comment the guy said was, he sounds like Mike Tyson's son. And I just thought, what has that got to do with the game? So it was just like, okay, man, yeah, okay. Well, at least he doesn't hate the game, so that's all we know, I suppose.
Oh, dear. Eric, I think you have a question there from somebody in the comment section.
Yes, actually, for Abbie, George Torres, one of our community members, he wants to know, what other games are you working on or have you worked on that you can share with us?
Well, right now I'm really only working on Titanfall and the next iteration. But we do have a second team here. I'm not at liberty to say what they're working on. It's cool stuff. I hope that in the future I'll be working with them as well. As we branch out and have 2 games as a studio, I think that'll be a lot of fun. And no, this actually occupies all of my time. It's crazy. It's so weird, especially like going from shipping a game and then sort of resetting and thinking about doing it again, and you're already you like immediately feel that time is already running out to get everything done that needs to be done. It's really unreal. I'm sure everybody here can identify with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So another question that we have put forward, we don't have a name on this one, so I can't give them credit for their great question, but getting started, it can seem very overwhelming when you realize just how much has to be done outside of the game's actual development. Where can one go to find information about that and to get support?
I'll try to answer this. For myself, again, like I said, being sort of the developer with least experience here, a lot of my information sort of came from just talking to the people on either Xbox, really. They obviously know what we're talking about, what their platform needs and stuff like that. And just in terms of development, I actually go to a monthly meetup for developers, because here in the East Midlands, and I get people from all sorts. So there's people that worked at EA, people that worked at Ubisoft. Then we've got sort of the local publishers like Team 17 in the area that sometimes come over. I even had like Agostino put me in touch with Debbie from Team 17, so I've actually been to their head office. Again, Debbie's given me sort of load of pep talks and advice and things like that. So for me, I felt that once I've sort of put myself in that sort of space, the sort of the help and information I could get from other developers just came flooding in, and it was so surprising because a lot of people tend to think that other developers are. I suppose you can kind of see it as it's competition, but people don't. The developers just feel well, they just help each other, and such a great sort of environment, especially for gaining knowledge and stuff like that. But one thing I would definitely say is, which I think can be quite hard, is that when people go into forums and this sort of ask questions that can be found on Google and stuff like that, because for me that shows you're not putting much effort into it, but so try and get involved in communities and stuff like that, but try and do a bit of work for yourself as well. But yeah, just talk to other developers is really the easiest thing, really. Yeah.
It's surprising. There's developers everywhere, and there are organizations everywhere. There's like the most. I could be in the most remote area of the world, and there's some development community that you can find. And so it is really important to get out there and meet other developers, see what they're doing. And like you said, developers are an open book, and now more so than ever, it's kind of come full circle, because when I first started getting into programming and everything, it was like in the old computer user group days, Commodore 64 and stuff. So like everybody was just trying to figure out what this whole industry was. And then it got really kind of closed down a bit, walled gardens, if you will. And everybody was like trying to make sure that nobody knew what they were working on. They had the innovation was in their house and all this other kind of stuff. And now it's come full circle again, where it's a very transparent and very open development process, especially for smaller developers, but even for larger developers too. I mean, even Ubisoft has been very open about like how they do things and all this stuff. It's fantastic. So just get out there and find these organizations. You'll be surprised. You can probably even look. I mean, just a quick Google search in your area, and you'll find some meetups. Like there's a meetup. I know I'm in the Bay Area here in the U.S., which is prolific as far as game development goes. But like, there's so many things going on. Like there's just this bar by my house where people meet up that just so this like I'm going there because I like to drink and they're talking about games and stuff. So, but you'll learn so much from that, because a lot of these people have been through various stages. There's people who've been through it for a while, and there's people who are just coming into it and everything like that. And the amount of help that you can get from like the Game Developers Conference or IGDA and all stuff also out there, really huge. So definitely just be vocal. I think for our industry, and even now, like there's a lot of people who are very. I'm kind of introverted, and it's really hard to just make that leap. But get out there physically with people in the same room and just start talking about things, showing stuff off, and doing sort of thing. There's nothing better than bringing a demo to some place and showing people for the first time. It's scary but awesome, because the feedback is priceless, and be able to have that like audience around you. And most people you're showing something to, especially if they make games themselves, they're not there to like tear anything down. They're there to help you out too. So they're excited to see something coming from you. So get out there and just show everything off. Talk about your craft, what you love to do, what you want to do, and all stuff. And the doors will start to open.
Yeah, I mean, we all have the same, at the end of the day, questions about how to get things done, and what you can do, when you're looking at the more business side of things, at other companies to work with. And if you have the opportunity to go to a dev meetup or talk to someone who you admire, I mean, look to the examples of things in the industry that you really like. If you see something and you go, wow, that's a great trailer, I love how that was done, oh, that was a really cool idea that these guys had, I wonder how they saw that through. And you get the chance to talk to those people sometimes, especially at places like GDC. Ask. I mean, a lot of times people are very willing to share, who they worked with, why they chose that, like why they chose that thing. Like it's gotten a lot more open, like people said. but I think also just looking for what you really admire in how other games and other developers have done stuff.
Yeah, and I think the key thing I think we're all saying here, and definitely what you just said here, is like ask, go up and approach people.
Yeah.
Like when I was first starting out, nobody knew who I was or anything like that, and everybody I would email or walk up to and ask any question would always answer. There was never anybody who would fail to answer. In fact, I remember I walked up to Nicholas Guam, who I think he was at Callisto, and he worked at some other place, worked on this Pac-Man game called Pac in Time, I think, and stuff. And there's something about Pac in Time I was really interested in, which was like this physics that he had going on the Game Boy, and I thought that was really crazy. And I was just talking to him at a game developer conference about it, gave my email address, and the next week he sent me the source code to it.
Wow.
he's like, have at it, check it out, and everything. It was like mind-blowing to me how open, even at a time when they seemed very closed off, how open people are when you are serious about what you want to do. Like, it's hard if you're going up there and be like, I love your game, or you do the Chris Farley thing, like, in that game, that when you did that, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, if you can actually like articulate what you're trying to do and you're really sincere and genuine, everybody's genuine back. It's just like anything, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head before with what you were saying about how people are so much more open now. Like, the whole of the industry has really shifted lately, and I think a lot of people who haven't given themselves that exposure to that don't really realize that, like, what we're doing right now is we wouldn't have seen many years ago. Developers openly coming together to say, hey, here's how we can help you with that problem. Here's where you can go to fix that. Ask me your questions. I'm happy to help. The whole culture of the gaming industry has changed dramatically lately, and it's brilliant. I'm really loving seeing just how helpful and how willing everybody is to give each other a leg up.
We
I think a lot of
these platforms that other companies, we want there to be more PlayStations. We want there to be more Xboxes. We want there to be more PCs, more Steams, more ways for games to get out there, more ways for people to find and play games. It helps all of us. It's there's sure, I guess, a competition if you'd love to sell more copies or something, but we need those games to have a way to get out to gamers, and there's value in working together for that. And we also are gamers, and we would love there to be really awesome, great games to play.
Yeah, and exactly.
That inspires all of us.
And on the note about the hardware, on the flip side, on software, we have common engines that thousands of people are using, so people can actually help you more than they ever could, because a lot of people are using Unity, and you have a question about Unity, there's somebody out there who has answered it already, and that sort of thing. When people are working with really proprietary things, they could give you high-level answers, they could do all that sort of stuff, but like now there's like a common community, and there's a lot of commonality in engines and all that stuff, and the bigger games have their own engines and all that stuff, but at the core, there's a huge community around this technology that's very common now. Before, everybody was building from the ground up every game, and now like somebody can answer your question pretty easily.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Greg and Lee, we've actually sent in for you guys, if you're still awake over there in the UK.
Yeah, we've got this coffee here, so. I was going to say how hard it is for us just to play games, but I guess not now.
we were massive fans of Titanfall. I reckon that was the biggest game the last big game we played, wasn't it?
That's the one that kicked off Xbox One for us,
definitely.
for definite.
We absolutely loved it. So
yeah, but it's nice. It's nice to get the opportunity to see some of these games early as well. Because quite often, sometimes we get codes for games that will come like 2-3 weeks before, and they're actually still looking for, almost like beta testers. Like they're looking for bugs still, and you can get back to them, and you find like for day one there's a patch. They're saying there's going to be a patch day one. It's all going to be fixed, and things like that. So even though we're just doing the recording at the end, we feel like at times, we've helped out. Yeah. We've done our little bit as well. What I mean? It's just nice to help out, because at the end of the day, we're just gamers. We just want to share as much as we can.
Well, that's actually
another good thing is that we're going to EGX next week, which is renamed from Eurogamer Expo. And that'll be our first chance to actually see some of the people and some of the developers that we've done games for. Yeah. So we're really excited about meeting up with quite a few of them.
Come find me.
We'll find you.
And sorry, Abbie, you were trying to say something just then?
Yeah, no, I'm blank. I was saying, to your point, it's really helpful to us too to be able. There's so many great ways that people can share, like video clips and things that they find in game, and it helps us fix things. It helps us find things that we miss. It's almost impossible. Let's just say it's impossible to ship a game with no bugs, and it's just really incredible to have the opportunity to, like, fix that stuff, figure out like what things people like, what they don't like, and to really integrate that into development as well. There's a lot of cool things going on in the gaming world, both pre-release and post-release now.
Yeah.
Although I was a PC gamer growing up, so I kind of had that for a long time.
Pretty much used to it, but the other side of it too, for people getting into game development, is there's the big elephant in the room of, like, when you launch a game and you get all this negative kind of messaging back, and it's really easy to look at that and take it seriously, but that comes with everything. And I've been talking to a lot of developers lately who get really depressed. They launch a game, and I'm like, you're looking at, like, the 20%, and the rest of it is, like, glowing, and the stuff that they're saying, those 20%. Like, if you just fix their problem, because, like, if anybody's something that they disagree with, they're gonna, like, bring hell down on you, and then you'll fix it, and they're like, oh, great, thanks, and just move on. And, like, you shouldn't lose sleep over that. And, like, I've been talking to a lot of developers lately who do, and it's like you're just introduced to that world, and that world is just what it is. There's trolls everywhere, and they're just gonna be there. Accept it, move on. Don't pay so much attention to it. And it's been kind of a recurring theme lately.
The sort of equivalent of don't read the comments. I mean, I deal with that here too. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets in this sort of frenzy to, like, read everything, read every opinion, read everything that anybody has to say about the game. And the cool side of that is we see all the really cool stuff, and if somebody's made a Titanfall thing, there's a really good chance we've seen it at the office. But they see everything, and sometimes you have to sort of pull people out of their funk and say, like, you should be really proud of what you did, and not sort of harp on the small stuff. There's always going to be someone who doesn't like it. There's always going to be someone who has to, say something negative. But for people, I guess, who don't spend as much time on the internet as I do, like, and even then, you still can take it to heart. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine just how much flooding you had come through about the Smart Pistol.
Yeah, people still have some strong opinions about that.
I lost sleep some nights.
Even internally, Bella. Even internally.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just like there's two camps. There's those who love it and think that it's great, and there's those who hate it and just want to see it burned with fire. So
I rock a hemlock with the Starburst attachment, and I don't fear the Smart Pistol.
Yeah, I hate that gun.
Oh, that's awesome. So Eric, I think you will also have one question, Mike.
Yes, for Mike. We saw that you were working on an addition to IDARB called He Carts. How's that coming along?
Oh, I was just watching some videos of QA playing through it. Where we have it goes up to 8 players like everything else in the game, and it's part of the halftime lineup. So it'll come up randomly or whatever, as well as you can have this new mode that's in the game called Halftime Olympics, where you can make a playlist of all the halftime games. But the reason I did this, it's basically like Mario Kart, and it's a mini game of the entirety of Mario Kart essentially. I've had this dream that I want to work on a really small game, but then have like the extra bonus thing you unlock be like a AAA game hidden inside of it. And it's like you're wondering, like, why did this Pong game have like a 3 gig download or something? But like for the inspiration for this, like I want to put like almost complete games in the halftime mode. So there's Mario Kart essentially, and it's He Karts because it's He-Man themed. The Mattel is helping us out, and we have this DLC pack that's all He-Man stuff. And we also have we have a first-person shooter hidden in the game, or not hidden, but it's one of the halftime events. And likewise, it's Castle Wolfenstein essentially with 8 players, but it's a halftime game. So you play IDARB, and then at the halftime, you're all running around trying to kill each other in like Wolfenstein, and then you're back into IDARB and that sort of thing. So we're gonna have all that out by the end of the month. Well, we're gonna submit it by the end of the month, and it should be out in October. And they'll be able to get that, the Walking Dead, Invincible stuff, and all the Mattel stuff and everything like that. And then all the new updates to the game are all going to be in there. We've been taking forever on the game because, likewise, it's like we didn't really want to set a date. We just wanted to make sure we're getting everything in there that's right. And the one thing that everybody's really waiting for is the big multiplayer overhaul. But there's a few things that kind of came in there. Like we're hoping that we'd have that all sorted out very early. But the reality is we're doing a lot more than even a lot of people are expecting. And it's taking us a little bit longer, but hopefully, if it all comes together right, it's gonna be worth it, and people will be able to do more than they were expecting with it. Like we're looking at stuff that's like, 2 taking it to more of an esport kind of thing. So we were just happy that people are even still liking the game. And every time I tweet out anything of like, here's a new halftime game or whatever, I love the response we get like that. So we need to get something out soon because there's a hungry audience for it, and we're just like, we're looking at ourselves like, why did we launch this and not have any plan? So we've got a plan now, and so but the reality is we launched it because we didn't think anybody would like it. So it was just like, oh, we're done with that, let's move on. And it's just like, oh, great, everybody likes it. And so now what? And so we took a lot of the suggestions that everybody's been giving us since it launched, and we've thrown a lot in there. So this is more like, it's almost like a sequel coming out rather than just an update because we put so much into it. So hopefully people like it.
That's very cool. I mean, but gamers are patient by nature, so.
Yeah, they never complain. They're awesome. They never tell you that you should just kill yourself because your AI sucks or anything. They never would do that.
Speaking about gamers who never complain, I just want to say how glad I am to hear that the new additions that you're adding to halftime are not going to further destroy my right analog stick.
There's some
controllers.
I actually have a folder on my desktop that's it's called Pain, and like I was just counting them up because I was doing this presentation. I have like 192, I think, images of people that sent in their right hand with the skin torn off.
Oh my God.
All it does is make me want to make more of those games.
Oh my God, that's terrific.
Well, we were demoing the game one time. And she was playing, and it was like this decathlon where you have to like shake it back and forth, stuff like that. And she was playing, and then finally she's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "What?" And there's blood everywhere. It was like all over the controller, and we're just like, "Oh my!" It was horrific. Like we were giving away T-shirts. We're like, "Use this" and stuff. We're like trying to wrap her hand.
Oh my God! That is.
She's never written me because I told her like, when the game comes out, write me. I give her my connection. Like, so she's listening. She needs to write me. And she knows what happened in that event, like how horrible that was and what our reactions were. We've got so much. We set aside this swag for her. We're like, someday she's gonna reach out because like we feel so terrible.
Oh God.
Well, Mike, I would say it sounded like a throwback.
Oh dear. So we are creeping up to the hour mark now. Actually, I think we've just surpassed the hour mark. So I won't read out any more of the questions that are in the comment section, but to anybody who has chucked questions in there, we will get them across to the respective devs that you have asked them for, and if they have the time, we'll try and coordinate and get some responses back to you. But for you guys, so are there any questions that you wanted to ask of each other that you haven't had a chance to yet?
I have a question for Mike. Whenever you talk to some people on the forums and sort of on social media and things like that, they tend to sometimes dismiss indies as this sort of filler that really should be within the $1 to $5 mark. How do you sort of keep yourself motivated when you sort of go to some of these forums and you hear people say stuff like that?
I always think back on music, like in the 90s, there was like you have indie music, right? And I remember I would listen to certain kinds of music or whatever, and not everybody was into it. And I can only imagine, like back then, like this band saying, like, why don't the people who like, at the time everybody was into hair bands, like why don't people who like hair bands like my crazy new music or whatever? It's like I dismiss it myself. Like if people are dismissing me, I dismiss them. I don't really care because like you can't have everybody. And I get all the time people are like, your game's overpriced. And I'm like, it's $15.99. Like, if it's overpriced for you, you should go where they're free in the land of milk and honey or whatever it is, where you get all your free games. Because like that's not the audience I'm going for anyways. Like, if you're not going to spend money, I'm not going to make money. So why should I even? Like I always just tell them sorry, and maybe you should try it out and see if it's worth it to you. But until you do, like, whatever. But I'd never let it get me down because like I have my little go-to, my little my warm blanket is like. I see these comments, and then I just throw on really shitty movies at night while I work, and like it just erases everything. By morning, I'm having the crazy dreams of like Dolph Lundgren and all this stuff, and like the next morning I don't remember any of it. And so it's like the weirdest high without having to use drugs. So the next day I'm all happy, and that stuff goes into my games, and I move on. And sometimes people stalk you with like I still hate your game, I still hate your game, and like that starts to turn hilarious because then it's just like how can I not like poke them, but poke them almost enough to keep it going because at this point they're wasting so much of their time that they might as well give you $15 It's so much effort going into it. So I've gotten value out of it by letting them continue to do it. So I just look at it very lightly, and I don't really care, because like the reality of it is, like, if you stay focused on what you're trying to do, and and the audience you're going for is going to find you, and you're going to find that audience, and who really cares? But you're like, Twitter and everything is just that big soapbox. Everybody's just saying anything they want, and they're going to try to instigate things and do whatever. It's just like, it's all noise. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the power of anonymity.
Yeah, exactly. And some of these guys, like, you know, they're not as anonymous, but who cares? It doesn't matter.
That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, when somebody's criticizing something that you've worked so hard on, it can be really hard to make that separation between emotion and fact. But when you realize that half of the complaining about stuff haven't even played it yet, they don't even know what they're talking about. So listening to what they're saying and taking to heart what they're saying is just giving them a win that they don't even deserve.
Mike, is it Chris Charla? You can tell
It's
us.
always Chris. It's always Chris. I'm never good enough for Chris, that guy. I didn't grow up listening to country punk or any of that stuff, so like, he's just like, I'm not on his radar anymore.
Yeah, add skateboards, and maybe he'll check it out.
Yeah, it's got to be the right skateboard, though. My little Scooby-Doo
Yeah, no, I
skateboard
mean, like,
wasn't good
we're
enough
not.
for
It
him.
has to be the perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start to wrap this up now. For those of you who will actually still be awake in a few hours, which I suspect none of the UK people here will be sure to tune into the EXL Twitch channel later today, because we're going to be streaming Gear Gauntlet. So you can all take a look at this game in action, and I'll make sure that I leave a link in the description below. So come along, have a bit more of a personal chat with Jay, get a look at the inside of the game. It'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun. Abbie and Mike, I think we are going to have to do a charity one-on-one iDub session one day soon.
Ooh, that would be awesome. Abbie, I will teach you the tricks, so you don't have to feel cold turkey on it. Awesome.
We might have to do something, raise some money for some kids before Christmas. I think that sounds like a great way to...
I would, any charity thing you want to do, I'm there. I will put special features.
Yeah, no, I love doing the charity stuff. So, yeah, and at Christmas, particularly over your side of the globe, it's extraordinarily cold at the moment. So blankets and food are much needed. So let's do that. Let's get some sort of charity night going, play some iDub. We'll bust some thumbs, break some control sticks. It'll be great.
And don't invite that kid that Mike played.
Oh, no, he's probably the guy telling me all the horrible comments about my game, too.
Right.
Oh, dear. Well, thank you
suck,
so much
Micah.
to each and every one of you for giving up your time to come and join today. I hope that you all took something that I did, and I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening has learnt quite a lot. I will send on the questions that I mentioned before that people have put in the comment section to you guys. So,
Great.
if you have a time, send the answers back, and unless there's anything else anyone wants to put in, we might wrap up.
No, thanks so much for having me. Thanks, guys. It was great.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks
Thank you.
for coming along. It's having me here.
Yeah, thanks for having us as well. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you are welcome. Well, on that note, oh, sorry, Jay. Yes.
I was going to say thanks to the Hitmen, because I've seen them retweet a lot of my stuff about Gear Gauntlet as well.
Yeah, man, no worries.
And we'll come and find you at EDX.
Yeah.
And hopefully beat your scores as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I just want to
All
say
right.
thank you too for all you guys do. You know, thank you. I'm a champion of the indie industry.
Aw.
Abbie, thank you so much for what you do, and keep fighting the good fight.
That warmed the cockles of my heart like you wouldn't believe.
Group hug, anybody? Okay. All right, we're signing off. Night off.